Are you making constant changes to anything? Do you have a product or a paper or a project that fundamentally is all ready to go, but because you're making constant changes, you haven't released it yet or handed it in because you still want to make it just a little bit better? That's what some refer to as tweaking, which by definition is the ongoing process of making infinitesimal changes to whatever you happen to be working on. At that level, those changes don't matter. They're imaginary. They seem significant to you because you know what to look for, but to everyone else, they're unnoticeable. And that means that whether you make those changes or not, the results will be the same. You may think that this is not quite what it should be, and that adding a word here and there, changing the color, using a different font, or any of a host of other adjustments will make a big difference. The thing is that when you look at whatever it is that you keep changing, tomorrow or next week or next month, then you'll notice just how insignificant those little changes were. And you'll find that the longer you leave it, the more you'll feel that the whole thing could be better. And that's because you're growing. But even if you're growing, that still doesn't give you a good reason to make constant changes forever. If constantly changing things is something that you do, then it will soon be obvious that doing so is what's holding you back. It's holding you back because as long as you continue to modify one thing, it will prevent you from working on anything else. There's a curious phenomenon. Perhaps you've noticed it yourself. It's how different things look depending upon which side of them you're on. When you see something you want to buy, for instance, then you see it with different emotional glasses before you do compared with afterwards. There's an anticipation before you get it that goes away once you do. Of course, the price of the item will make a difference as how you will see yourself benefiting from it. A chocolate cake or apple pie won't have the same effect as a new car, but you won't feel the same about either after you buy them. You'll feel differently about them when you compare how you felt with how you felt afterwards. The same thing is true when you're constantly changing something. It looks different when you're still working on it than it does afterwards, even if you don't make any meaningful changes to it. The act of changing something, or even just looking at it again, can make you feel better. It's a kind of psychological approval that you give it, but it has the same effect as deliberately stepping over the cracks in the sidewalk or touching the table 3 times before you walk out the door. Whether you do it or not doesn't matter. What you must remember is the result, not the emotional tension that you feel. If you dwell on the tension, then you'll keep changing it. But if you think about the result and how it didn't matter the last time, then you'll be able to finish it and do something else. The problem with constantly changing anything is the underlying belief that whatever you're changing isn't good enough, that it'll never be good enough. That's why you keep fiddling with it. When you're busy changing, perfecting, because that's what you're really doing, you believe that doing so is vital to your success, that it's really important. But after you make it as good as you can, you'll notice that the next time you look at it, it doesn't look as perfect as you remembered. And so the key to using your time wisely is to remind yourself that no matter how perfect it looks now, after you've changed it for all it's worth, that it won't stay that way for more than a moment, if it actually ever was. You have to remind yourself of how you really feel about it after the fact before you spend a lot of time changing things that won't matter anyway. Everything is flawed. Nothing is perfect, ever. This is for 2 reasons. The first is that you're incapable of making it perfect. You may think that you know what perfect looks like, and maybe you do, but you lack the skill to make it so. The proof of that is that if you could, then it would be perfect already. But the fact that you have to keep tweaking it means that it's still not there. And the harder you try to make it perfect, the less perfect it will look to you. The second reason that what you're working on is flawed is that the idea of what's perfect is in the eye of the beholder. What looks perfect to you will look imperfect to someone else. And that's because what is important to you is different from what's important to someone else. And it won't be just you and one other person. The more people there are who look at it, the more different ideas there will be about how it should look. Those two perspectives, your inability to make it perfect and the imperfection that others see, will occur simultaneously. And so striving to make it perfect is a complete waste of your valuable time. Successful entrepreneurs see solutions that others don't and are deliberate about exerting the effort to not only create them, but also to release them to the market. To them, it's an opportunity and they don't care what anyone else thinks. Unsuccessful entrepreneurs fall at the last hurdle. They too see opportunities that others miss, but they never release their solution because they're too busy trying to make it perfect. If you learned something from this video, then please like it and subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to learn more ways to hack your life or your business by following psychological principles, then sign up for my ebook, The Importance of Why. The link is in the description. I'm Dr. Bruce Hoag.